It's funny how our goals are only as elastic as our sense of self of who we are and what we think we can accomplish. If all you've ever done is run 3 miles at a clip, then a 10 miles run can feel as far as the moon. Your mind will compile reasons why that distance is beyond you, and you may believe them. If 10 becomes the new normal, then a half or full marathon may be the next step after a marathon comes ultra. Each time you level up, your mind will step in like an overbearing chaperone and try to shut down the party that very dynamic was playing out in my own mind. On the long drive I flashed to a 30-mile run I'd done with Cameron Haynes in Oregon back in December 2018 while we hammered the trails around his hometown. He gushed about a brand new race he'd finished 2 months earlier. It wasn't a 100-miler, it was a 240.3-mile trail race with nearly 30,000 feet of elevation gain. That's more than the elevation of Mount Everest among the red rock formations, sheer drop-offs and desolated peaks of Moab, Utah. 240 miles. Was that the new deep end? When I was learning to swim as a teenager, I spent all my time in the shallow end of the pool because there was no fear there. Even after I become proficient, I swam laps in the shallow end because it soothed me knowing that with each stroke I damn near scraped bottom. If I got too tired or wanted to quit, I could simply stand up, and that gave me both comfort and confidence. It allowed me to work on my stroke without fear getting in the way. There is nothing inherently wrong with that as long as we are clear that the shallow end work we put in is all about preparation for the deep end. But that was not my mindset at that point in my life. The way the pool complex was laid out made it impossible to ignore the deep end. Each day I left the locker room, I had to walk by the 10-foot section. Occasionally I stepped to the ledge and looked down. That 10-foot floor felt bottomless to me, so I tucked tail and strolled toward the cozy little 3-foot marker. With each step my dread faded while my comfort swelled, and that, with my psyche I did my best to clear it out of my mind as I swam, but it lodged in there like a thorn. Lap after lap, day after day. When something continually looms in the back of your mind like a taunting, that's an alarm. It's a signal that you need to evaluate and address that issue, or it may become a lifelong fear looming larger each day until it morphs into an obstacle you may never overcome. There is nothing wrong with being afraid or hesitant. We all have our reasons for remaining in the shallow end, but we must make our shallow end a training ground. Too often we treat our training terrain as a lazy boy. We lay back, get comfy, and then have the audacity to wonder why our lives aren't getting any better while we do the same. We've always done. I should have been using my time in the shallow end as mental preparation, imagining deep water with every stroke. You have to train your mind as if you are already there. If you get tired while swimming laps in the shallow end, don't give yourself the option of standing up in the middle of the lane. Your only resting point should be the gunnel at the other end of the pool. That way when you get to the 10:00 end, you know from experience that you can make the distance. But back then I was merely a survivor. I wasn't a warrior capable of thriving in discomfort, so I chose to bury my dread and logged my pool hours in the shallows with no end in sight. A lot of us grow out of life's shallow end but stay there because we fear the unknown. I'm thinking of those who remain in a secure job they hate instead of cutting ties and starting up their own business or applying for a new position elsewhere. Most are intimidated by an unknown future filled with variables and consequences they can't control or foresee. I know a person who ran other people's thriving businesses for 20 years but was afraid to run her own. She knew every aspect of what it took to become a successful entrepreneur, but rather than acknowledge her experience and use it as a confidence supply, she let her irrational fears keep her running in place for someone else. You need to evaluate what you're feeling. Not every emotion deserves to be ratified. Remember, if you stay where you've always been, you will never learn. If you have what it takes to venture into the deep water. I was down for 12 hours, and while that amount of rest might sound like it could help me later in the race, it is actually quite the opposite. By the time I was back on the trail, my legs felt like they were made out of stone. I was that stiff and swollen, and I had fallen from second to something like 80th place, which was more or less dead last. I had every excuse to quit. My luck had soured, my health was compromised, and I'd lost my essay at a crucial time. My race was completely and I had over half the distance still to go. Some might look at that version of events and think all was lost, but I knew from experience that the best life lessons don't appear when things go well. It's when all your goals and pretty plans turn to that you can see your flaws and learn more about yourself. You must take advantage of any opportunity to strengthen your resolve, because when life hits you in the mouth you will need that resolve. Of course, knowing that doesn't make it easy to re-engage when everything is actually getting out there and running. The last 135 miles demanded a level of focus and commitment that is hard to find when you've been down and out for half a day. Fortunately, I had been in up situations so many times before I knew what to do. For starters, I had to stay locked in mentally. A lot of people fall down when they get smacked, and when they hit the ground they lose all momentum, not just physically but mentally, because they are humiliated, and when you are humiliated it is impossible to make any sort of progress. We must learn how to absorb life's haymakers without getting knocked down, because picking yourself up off the canvas is the hardest, longest step of all as you fight to regain your momentum. Yes, I had to shut it down for half a day. Yes, all the goals I had for Moab 240 had been obliterated. Yes, my body was a mess, but mentally I was still on my feet and in the race, because I'm not living life for the same reasons as almost everyone else. The rewards I seek are internal, and if you have that mindset you will find opportunities for growth everywhere during tough times. That growth can be exponential. I wasn't going to win the race or finish in a respectable time, but I had been gifted another rare opportunity to test myself in adverse conditions and become more. If anything, my desire to finish had only grown thanks to the mess I'd made. At the same time, I needed to ease some of the pressure I'd placed on myself. Pressure comes with high expectations, which is great because it can bring out your best, but there are times when it can be more helpful to offload pressure. When you are exhausted, it is vital to remain in control of your thoughts and emotions so you can make decisions with your right mind. Choosing to relieve pressure allows you to do that. When the pressure is high, you develop blinders that limit perspective. That's great for certain situations that demand a hyper-focus, but when you're engaged in something that demands your maximum endurance, it's better to broaden your perspective and your awareness to absorb more of the experience, which enables maximum growth both during the event and in the days and weeks to follow. Besides, if you allow that unrelenting pressure to build, you're liable to snap and make a bad situation a whole lot worse. Remember, the goal is always to complete the mission, whatever it may be, with no regrets and a clear head so you can use it to progress in life. Cultivating a willingness to succeed despite any and all circumstances is the most important variable of the re-engagement equation. Your willingness to succeed builds self-esteem. It broadens your concept of your own capability, yet it is the first thing we lose touch with when things go bad. After that, giving up often feels like the best option, and maybe it is, but know that quitting chips away at your self-worth and always requires some level of mental rehab. Even if what forces you to quit is an injury or something else beyond your control, you will still have to bounce back from the experience mentally. A successful mission seldom requires any emotional maintenance. In order to execute on your willingness to succeed, you will need to be able to perform without purpose. You've heard of purpose, that magical missing ingredient crucial to landing a fulfilling career and building a happy life. What if I told you the importance of finding your purpose was overblown? What if there never was any such thing as your good friend purpose? What if it doesn't matter what the _ you do with your time here? What if it's all arbitrary and life doesn't give a flying _ if you want to be happy, what then? All I know is this: I am David _ Goggins. I exist, therefore I complete what I start. I take pride in my effort and in my performance in all phases of life. Just because I am here, if I'm lost I will find myself. As long as I'm on planet Earth I will not half-ass it. Anywhere I lack I will improve, because I exist and I am willing. This is the mentality we should all strive for when we're stuck, because when you're in the hurt locker you must be your own motivator, your own drill instructor. In the dark moments you must remind yourself why you chose to be there in the first place. That takes an edgy tone when you're all _ up and looking for more. The only tone you should allow inside your head is the tone of a warrior, the tone of someone prepared to plunge deep inside their own soul to find the energy they need to keep up the fight and prevail. In Moab, my willingness to succeed was fueled by my future. I knew the race I had planned to run was over, but as of that moment next year's race had already begun. My new mission was to sketch out the ultimate blueprint for this course. I'd released the pressure valve and my entire team was refreshed and ready to scout details with me like future bank robbers, masters of disguise, returning to the branch day after day to absorb the layout, document the rhythms of the staff, and come up with an unbeatable plan of attack. We would catalog first-hand knowledge of the next 135 miles, so in 2020 I would be prepared to blow it. The